shady side parking, Greg?
Yes, there is recommendations from the police department that were, sent over to, the borough attorney to review in regard to Old River Road and Thompson Lane. It's a very wide intersection, if you notice, and cars tend to park right into the corner and whatnot. Then with the new daycare facility there, about the children drop off. Tom Quinton, DPW, they got the, as Mike Masseri referred to as the glacier removed. They utilized the snow melting machine from the borough of Emerson. So Emerson, Fort Lee, and Edgewater shared this snow melting machine that machines are used in larger cities where there's no place to plow the snow.
Emerson had it, it didn't work.
Right.
We rebuilt the engine and we bought tires.
Yes.
Now it belongs
So
to
how's that
all
for cooperative shared service?
Great.
So they got the machine running, it worked fantastic, they were pleased with it. So I think it's just another tool in the arsenal, so if we should have another major snow event next winter, we'll be able to use that and keep those glaciers, as Mike Masseri refers to them, to a
Quick question, Greg.
manageable
The, are we looking at an introduction of an ordinance next meeting on the parking meters and the addendum to the ordinance with the snow
level.
zone?
No, because the parking in Shady Side, I received a phone call from Mike Masseri today. Phil and Mike were going to draft a new agreement.
Okay.
Mike had his attorney draft it. They reached out to Phil today to get him a copy. I doubt it'll be ready for next
Okay, that's
meeting,
fine.
so
But we're moving
we're moving on.
Do we have an understanding, gentlemen, that when this meter system goes in, are we looking at, like, obviously it has to be max 4, otherwise people will put in quarters or dollars to park here for commuting. That max 4, there's gonna be no stickers that say, I work at the daycare, I get to park here free, or I am a merchant, or I am a resident, right? This, once it's metered for everyone. You gotta run out during your work hours and feed the meter.
That's not what I understood. I understood that
That's not my understanding either.
I understood that the employees,
Why?
Mike,
Where else do employees get to park for free? Or-
I think Mike was talking about the south end,
Yeah, along the road,
and then
you know,
the
and it
parking
was
lot.
also stopgap measures. We have problems with spaces and trailers and snow. But as far as the pristine parking lot,
Yeah, but
that
it's
meter
not-
system, that's gotta be a meter system. Well, if you want to put it for an item, we'll hash it out and debate it. There's no way. Yeah.
Let's further discuss it with Mike and get a draft of something, and then.
You work at the nursery, you run out twice a day and you put a meter.
I think he's trying to protect the businesses and the employees to have some type of a, you know,
I think it's big.
restricted area where they can, you know, work and.
And I'm not so sure the existing agreement will permit that, Mike. That's what I think we have to review.
That's why we're redoing it. That's why I thought we were redoing the existing agreement. I thought that's why we were doing it.
one of the
But
other,
I don't think he's gonna agree to that.
one of the other
I
participants.
could be mistaken.
What really is he involved? I mean, what
Well,
is he? the
he
chair?
wants enforcement
I
of.
understand, but is he the emperor of the party?
No,
I don't mean,
you're right.
I don't mean
No,
disrespectful, but.
You're right about that. I also received a call from one of the other parties to that agreement,
Right.
the party that donated that land,
Okay.
that wants to have input. And this idea about giving certain people stickers and permits is not completely acceptable. Because Mike McCary doesn't have the final say over
I
this.
mean,
I didn't get a chance, I did speak to Michael Feldman, Mike McCary's new lawyer.
you could fill that parking lot with the employees and the shop owners and it would be over.
Right, that's
If
the
they had a sticker, they
concern.
could park there all day
So
free.
we need to have a
Doesn't
little
make
bit more of a dialogue about
No way.
this as to that. We're hearing, you know, Mike,
Yeah.
who means well,
Sure.
but there's
Yeah.
other ramifications of how this could be impacted. So we need to know the full picture. We will get an opinion from one of the other signatories to that agreement.
Okay.
There's 3 people to that. There's Mike Masseri, who was very instrumental in making that happen, but the guy who donated the land also has something to say about it as much.
What is the maximum meter they would put? 4 hours? or
Well, you
something?
have to kind of do something because otherwise you'll confuse.
Whatever you guys come up with.
But you'll come to
Yeah,
some
yeah,
recommendations.
we're gonna have a little more dialogue on that.
parking ordinance is one and the same. Summer camp, we're compiling the summer staff applications. Jill's been meeting with Dr. Cella from the school district, so summer camp should be good to go. She believes she will be, and again, it's all dependent on construction. She feels that she will be utilizing the community center for the older children, just to free up some space at the school. So that's moving forward. We do have information on both the Palisades Park pool and the Leonia pool.
Battle of the pools.
Who, Leonia, again, has always welcomed Edgewater residents to join. Palisades Park has opened it up again, I shouldn't say again, opened it up for the first time to out-of-town residents. There is a difference in the fee structure, but not, depending on the family plan and the package that you do fall under. Some there's a difference of $5, others there was a little more significance, but I guess it all depends on
Are we
which
offering
pool
both?
you like.
We're offering both?
Yeah, I mean, any resident can go to either Pallet Park or Leonia, whatever their preference is. So. Route 5 parking, Councilman Doran, I don't have this on my list, but while I have it written here. Councilman Doran at the last meeting had inquired about perhaps creating some type of parking area at Undercliff and Route 5 at the Horseshoe. We do own property there, however, it's not enough to create ample safe parking. We would need to acquire some state parking. Negley Engineering did inquire about that with the state. The feedback that I was given is that the state is always looking to sort of pass off their property if they don't have to care and maintain it. So right now, we're looking at possibly acquiring land without a cost associated to it. But once we move further into the process, we'll keep you posted.
So do we kind of figure that when you go down that hill, the parks on the left, that maybe 2/3 parking and the top third grass, and we have to
Exactly.
do some park, right?
I was visiting, I looked at it, what I was hoping for was going west in to the parking.
Right.
You could probably get at 8, the common number is probably 8 foot, you could probably get 10 spots. And the reason why we're pushing this is, right next to the park, there's the stone house. We are gonna lose, with all the new construction,
that part.
there's gonna be no parking.
Oh, I get it.
All the way down to Mary Holden's house.
Yeah, I was just concerned you're gonna use the whole.
And then after
park.
Mary Holden's house, you're gonna have the construction across the street,
Kenny's,
the Kenny's house.
then on
I
down
mean,
to Monroe's.
it's gonna be a big issue, and we're gonna have to also think about alternate side parking, because on the north end of town, it's, and I also wanna talk about curb cuts. I think we have to look into that for further construction. You know, maybe an 8-foot curb cut, pull in.
Do we have a liaison to the Board of Adjusters or just planning?
Just planning.
Just planning. Can we need to make sure we have someone there telling, those guys that they need to, do the one and open up to the rest.
That's
Or
right.
make sure,
We can
every
adopt-
development from now on, how do we do that, Phil? Great. How do we get our influence in there to say,
You can easily adopt the zoning ordinance, which requires
look at
that.
that? I mean,
I always wanted to look into this.
it's all gonna be those buildings from now, to now, the next 20 years.
And if we do an 8-foot curb cut, you can go in, if you go up by Orchard, when you make the left onto Undercliff, I mean,
It's the
that
whole,
is
it's the whole 50-foot front.
the whole
Ridiculous.
50-foot front. If you go to any other town, they have curb cuts, they have at least one spot. And we're not asking much. I mean, it's not gonna affect the value of the home. And I'm surprised that it was never done years ago.
Yeah, you're right.
And we have to act on it, and we're gonna have to act on something, because this parking, we
Is
have
there anything
people
that
parking.
stops us from doing it, guys? Why can't we just move
Well,
forward?
you may not be able to do that depending on how far down, how far, or how deep the edge of the garage would be.
Within certain parameters, if we can do it, should we do
Yeah.
it?
The other thing that we have to, and I know you guys are not big fans of this, but at some point, if you're making cuts in the curb and you're giving people driveways, and, some of these people are gonna have to be required to park on their
You have to
driveway.
bring it up for a couple of years, and I agree with you, but it's enforcement, it's impractical.
Right,
Well,
but
now that we have a-
in my home in Fairlawn, there wasn't a day that I could leave my car out in the street. I gotta
Well,
take
it's
it
no
out.
street parking then, you're not talking about no street parking.
Yeah, no street parking.
Well, that doesn't,
Well, no,
that
but-
goes against what you, that doesn't make sense then.
No, but if you're given a curb on a cut in the curb and you're given a driveway, you should be parking on your driveway.
But
That's why
those are
you're getting that
those are
convenience.
communities that don't have street parking. Because then you go down the road, if you're a cop, you're saying you're there, you're getting a ticket. You can't have both, these are your two cars, and we're gonna make sure that your two cars are in the driveway, but everyone else is allowed in the street. It's just an impractical enforcement consideration.
I don't know if it's impractical, I mean, I think.
How do you do it?
Well, I mean.
There's people parking who have driveways who park in the street constantly.
I
see it.
So they come up and
Yeah,
so
big
they
driveway.
check their license plate number against her
No,
address and
just
start
saying.
writing
So,
citations.
yes, you can say shrink the curb cuts and do this and do that, all good ideas, but I see people who don't even use their driveway,
Yeah,
park on the
can't keep
streets
doing
and
that.
have these big
Gotta come
long
up with something.
driveways, or they take up 2 spaces. At the very least, we should start with lining, so at least people can stay within the,
That's true too,
Yeah.
yeah.
there's a few different.
It adds the signage,
Yeah.
lines.
I don't know, I don't
Yeah, I
know,
agree.
it's a tough.
But at least if you have one spot, I don't know.
Yeah, no,
Parking is,
I'm okay with it too, I mean, some.
you have to
something
work with
a
it,
little bit
obviously
of
there's a fire hydrant, I mean, you have to look at it properly, but it has to be, I'm surprised that it's never been brought up.
There's the other side of the street of Undercliff that might have a better shot of accommodating more cars than
Then all the
the.
money goes roll backwards into the cars, that's what happens 6
And you
months
got
ago.
that, I know.
And what I'm concerned about there too is once you get on top of North Street or
Yeah,
Sterling,
make a left and right.
making a left and right, yeah, have visibility shots, because after 35 feet, there's gonna be a car.
With each idea, there's issues.
Oh, absolutely.
So, but it needs to be worked out.
I just think we
Clear.
have to have a clear discussion about it.
It needs to be worked out.
Do you want to have your planner and engineer maybe at the next work session? And you can
Probably a good idea.
Absolutely.
I think
discuss
Just
this
to
further?
begin some dialogue and come up with some.
Please.
Sure.
Okay, down there.
Yes. I think the curb cuts is a problem, like a 50-foot front an 8-foot curb cut can accommodate a double car garage. And
Sure,
there's
or
2
even
spots
in
there.
between
Yeah,
each
property,
property.
that's what I'm
You could leave the center open, you could have 30 feet, easy 25 feet in the center of the duplex.
Right.
And that will put 2, one on each end. And
Right.
that should be enough, 30 feet, leaving 10 on each side, there's your 50. And that's to the edge of the next property, and if you catch a few feet on their side, you've got a car on each side.
Right.
It can be done.
But each property has sort of a unique
Yeah,
type
yeah.
of, each one comes with a different set of circumstances.
Sure.
Okay, one other thing, with something that was mentioned, we spoke with Chief Skidmore in regards to the time of one-way on the northern end.
Oh,
of
yeah,
the-
yeah.
He's considering and very confident that we can trim some time off.
Good.
We're looking at probably at least
8:30.
15 minutes, if not.
That's huge,
Well,
it's huge.
I noticed the other day, and that's what I've been saying, because I go to take my kids up to school sometimes from 10 to 5. There's a sign, they put a barrier up, there's no police officer there. I think the residents know now that.
No, he's talking about cutting the time back to 8:30.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is I don't even think, with the sign being there, you don't need to have a police presence at this point.
They're not.
Yeah, they're
They've been for a
not,
while.
yeah, but,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everybody's aware.
So it could cost us $200 to change the signs. For 15 minutes, that's huge.
Just white it out.
Why not?
Okay, great.
Community center roof, and we discussed it 10 minutes ago, the street sweeper. Those are 2 items. We'll be preparing bid specifications, going out to bid. Old River Road improvements, we should be having a pre-construction meeting within the next week or 2. Those are for all the streetscape improvements on Old River Road by the stores, sidewalks, curbs, decorative street lighting, some landscaping, so the business owners will be pleased with those improvements. Sewer bills, we completed with the help of Negley Engineering, working out the rate. This year's rate will be 4.81. Last year's rate was 4.365. So there is an increase. but it does help on the budget. We discussed it the other day, potentially in excess of $400,000 in yearly revenue. Tax maps, they're still compiling the tax map information. The most tedious task at this point is getting the condominium information on the maps. So it's not only block information, but with the qualifiers for the units on the condominiums and co-ops. So that gets included in the maps as well, so we're working on that. Colony diversion, discussed with Pat Sagaden. State now is requesting a phase 1 environmental report for that
Gulch.
gorge or gulch, however, a culvert. If we should just have Neglia do it, they typically bring in somebody to do the
What was
report.
that again?
It's a phase 1 environmental, they just do a historical thing for
The offset for the colony, for the docks.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
yeah, on River Road, along River Road corridor there.
Great.
Yes.
You know, before we spend any money, and I really want to say one more time that I will not sponsor anything that unless we have an understanding of items from the county with regard to eventual widening.
Well, yes, before we move forward on the environmental study, we did meet with the county, and we're just waiting on the confirmation as to exactly how much. They were talking about 16 feet.
Right.
So it seems, everything seems to work out with that footage.
We wouldn't have to replace it if they
So,
ever
right,
donate.
that's correct.
And we'll get that in
Because
writing.
it'll all be done beforehand. So, yes. Emergency medical technician, we discussed and closed. I-Park redevelopment amendment, we already discussed that with the mayor. On the next agenda, you're gonna see some changes to the policy manual as was recommended by the JIF and reviewed by Phil Boja. I didn't get a chance to give you a copy of this yet, but the highlighted areas in yellow are the areas that was added. We'll do a resolution for the next meeting. That for Phil. Also, I want to make you aware that we were one of 3 gold recipients at the Safety Awards for the Municipal Joint Insurance Fund. So out of the 28 communities, we were the top 3 for safety, being proactive with our safety program. And we were awarded a $2,000 cash payment on behalf of the JIF. So that's credit to all the staff and employees who do work hard maintaining safety.
Good job.
Also, your grant writer, we met with our grant writer and Neglia Engineering last week. And this is sort of to try to get back in sync with the River Road corridor study along with the County of Bergen. There is a grant program, New Jersey Department of Transportation Alternative Grant Program, potential $800,000 award. And we discussed the possibility of a super stop, which is essentially a bus stop, or I should say a glorified bus stop. That was one of the recommendations in the River Road corridor study. I spoke to the planners at the county. The day I was calling her, she was calling me to let me know about this and that this would be a perfect program for us.
Does it usually have to be like a parking area though? For a
No,
spot?
no, not at all, not at all.
Drop off?
No, not at all, not at all. So essentially what the super stop is, it'll be a sheltered stop. So it'll be a roof structure that the bus would pull under, so it would protect the riders from the elements. It could potentially be heated. It'll have electronic signage, so all New Jersey Transit information that will get tied into this thing. So essentially what it is you're taking the bus off of off of River Road into the cutout. So the perfect location that we thought of was Thompson Lane and River Road, which tends to be the busiest stop. If you drive between 7 and 8, that stop, the people are wrapped around Thompson Lane. So we
So you
felt,
say people walk to it?
yes,
Okay.
absolutely, yeah, oh, absolutely. So, and this ties into our discussion with these ordinances. We may need to take some property out of the parking area. So as we move along with this process, that's going to be one of these issues that.
Putting the parking, putting a super spot in the area that we're saying we don't want commuters parking, I think it's too difficult.
But the super stop is not intended to cater to commuters. It's intended to cater to your residents.
Independence Harbor and
Because it is definitely the busiest bus stop.
that's
And a
definitely
lot
a
of
business
times,
bus.
People walking up.
yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. So, you know, it could be heated in the winter, so you know, you'll have the heaters that are built into the roof,
This
make
is all
it
grant money?
comfortable. Well, yeah, $800,000 is a potential award.
That'd be nice.
So,
$800,000 gonna be enough to build something like that, or does that mean we have to pony up the rest?
well, we'll see, you know, we'll have to see what the award is if we get it, so.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Don't forget the first day's blood drive on April 9th. We sent out a message on that today. Oh, yeah. We got this notification from the county health department. This is worth mentioning. Several restaurants in Edgewater were recognized for health and well-being, culture, food safety, and consistently excelling in food safety practices. Not to say that the others that aren't mentioned here aren't doing their due diligence, but these companies exceeded the county health expectations. Dunkin' Donuts, Archetypus, Waterford Towers, McDonald's, and the George Washington School cafeteria. So those facilities are going to be presented with an award at the County Health Department. Is it tomorrow? Yes, okay. So that was a nice thing to recognize. River Road Corridor Study, I mentioned technology. I met with Verizon, who happens to be our service provider for their cell service, along with those notebooks. They have a lot of fantastic new things. The one interesting thing that he mentioned was the, and Councilman Henwood brought it up, were the parking meters. So the pay stations, Verizon partnered with a vendor. Doesn't matter what type of pay station, doesn't matter who the manufacturer is. They remove the guts of the pay station, replace it with their new technology. Everything is wired. You can, right down to the police department, so they can monitor how many parking stalls are paid for, how many are expired. So the enforcement can actually be done at a desk and not so much.
Is that the Pal Bar bottle?
Similar, very similar. I thought that was worth looking into, so we may be pursuing that, just to let you guys know.
Presentation would be
So
good.
you don't have to drive around, and you can monitor it from the computer.
Yeah.
No, carry on.
I'm done.
Question for you, Phil. No, Phil, not you, Greg. Where are we at, guys, with the first floor ambulance? Do we need to meet with, we'll see Wilcox and see in light of considerations for Waterside?
I forgot to mention that, thank you. I did meet with the architect last week. The original plans and specs are completed by Mills and Schnoren. That's the architect who just did phase 2. Now again, this is going back because this is an older plan. So I said, so I got the impression that the council wanted to fast track this. So he says, well, is it okay if I get you finalized plans and specs, say, within 4 to 6 weeks?
Okay.
I said, that should be fine. So they're gonna revise the plans, update
Tell him
them.
to really sharpen his pencil, like some things might go and this and that, okay?
And then I also told them that we may be doing the demolition ourselves, dependent on when the project starts, so.
Good stuff.
Barbara, do you have anything? No? Can I ask for a motion to adjourn?
So.
Second? Roll call?